Okay, yeah. Okay, hello everybody. Good evening. Hello, Danny. How are you?
I'm great, Sloan. How are you?
Doing great. I'm here with my great friend Danny. We've been friends for now about 2 years, right?
Yes. Yeah, 2 years now.
Two long, painful. When you're friends with me, they're long years. You know that.
Well, those 2 years have probably been the most adverse and difficult years of my adult life. But the relationships that I've made, the growth that I've had, has been a blessing through it. It really has.
Well, God works through people, and that's what happens. When the tough get tough, people come together, and that's. We were just talking about it in the green room a minute ago that pretty soon in this country we're going to get past the point where we're worrying about what color your skin is, what pronouns you're using, all that stuff, because yeah, there's going to be bigger problems on the horizon. Unfortunately, Danny, that's what I really think.
I agree, and it worries me. It concerns me. I was born in the States, but I grew up in the Middle East in the '70s. I experienced war firsthand, lived through bombings, lived through my school being attacked. During that time, made it back to the States, and my heart is absolutely broken for those folks over there right now. And every time I listen to the news, I have kind of a little bit of anxiety and flashbacks to it because I can understand what they're going through, and it is just heartbreaking.
Yeah, it absolutely is, which is all the more reason why we need to come together. Um, I mean, that's why, one of the reasons why we're having this show tonight is because we're going to talk about what all parents want for our children. We've talked a lot about okay, what these type of parents want. Well, we don't talk about that. Democrats talk about that. We talk about what parents want universally. But Democrats are trying to get us to hate each other based on our sexuality, our skin color, our privilege, our whatever it is. And so, on our shows, we want to attempt to break that down because, you know, we all have a shared destiny in this country.
Mhm.
You and
You do.
I are parents. Please say a prayer for us for teenage girls or preteen for mine. Olivia's up 13 now.
13, 14 in a couple months.
Yes, yes. So please say a prayer for us because, yeah, we're
Oh yeah.
we need it. We need it. Um, so so Danny, you and your husband Craig have a beautiful child, and we've been talking a lot about um the, the lacking in public education for sure. What are you seeing? Are you in public ed? Your family was in public ed, right? You were in public school.
Right. Yeah. So I grew up in public school. I was actually going to be a teacher till I fell into sales and, kind of went that route because I was just, better life for my family. My mother was a school teacher. So it's been a part of our life for as far as I can remember. I've had aunts and uncles as teachers as well. It's an important part of my family's life.
Absolutely. It's who you are. And so, we when we talk about public education as an institution, even for teachers, we have had a lot of teachers that have been teaching for 10, 20, 30 years who have left and said, look, the system has left me. I as a teacher, I want to be a teacher, but the system has left me because of the focus on some of the stupid stuff we were talking about before. Um, instead of teaching children how to be literate, you're teaching them how different they are from each other and to notice those differences and to harp on that rather than to harp on unity and that shared destiny as Americans that we should be placing an emphasis on.
It drives me nuts to think of where we were from, where we came from, what Dr. King did, and everything that he suffered through. My dad had a restaurant in the '60s in a small town in Northeast Tennessee, and he welcomed anybody into that restaurant to sit anywhere they wanted to. And when someone stepped up, when he did have, Black people coming in and wanted to sit wherever they wanted to sit, and he told them, please, you sit where you want to sit. You're a paying customer. He had a few people get up and say they can't sit there. They need, we're not going to eat here if they don't move. And my dad said, they're welcome here. You're not. And he kicked them out. So that's how I grew up. That's the lesson that we learned, is to respect each other and appreciate each other. And now everything, Sloan, seems to be turning on its ear. Now it's, let's segregate children so that they can, be with other kids like themselves. I understand that there's a sense that anyone needs to have of a commonality, but there's also that sense of community. And I don't mean that in the sense of, in a sense of how liberals might use it, but I mean in a sense of, we're a community, we're a country. That's, the thing that makes us unique in this country is how diverse we truly are, and the differences, the histories of the different peoples in this country. That's what makes America so great. Not to segregate it out and parse it out and say, you go over here, you go over there. How many people died over the years to get us to a point where that was not the case? And I don't care how you try to break it down or explain it, I don't believe for a second that there's anything coming out of it except a reversal of where we came from, trying to get back to it. And that's not acceptable.
Amen. Well said. I mean, we're both minorities, right? I mean, you're gay, I'm Jewish. And, we hear this from the some in the Black community quite often, is that children need to see themselves in the teaching staff. And yet I don't see a priority being placed upon Jews in the teaching staff, or even Muslims in the teaching staff, or gays. And so if that were true, then why isn't that happening? Number one. And number two, there's a lot of talk now about, and I showed this to you. I remember when I showed you the pictures in Gender Queer, which is a book that's, in a lot of libraries right now, and parents are up in arms. We talked about a lot of things, but when I showed it to you, you had exactly the same reaction as every parent. And it is, if anyone ever showed this to my daughter, I kill them. I mean, it's completely inappropriate. But the thing we're hearing, Danny, is that from progressives on the other side, which typically are homophobic, they're typically racist and anti-Semitic. And I say that because I've been in this field for a long time, and I see that popping up. But let me bring up this explanation to you, and hopefully you'll see what I mean. What they're saying, the progressive left is saying, when we're saying that this is age inappropriate, they're saying, gay children need to be able to see themselves in the literature. They need something for them. And that to me implies, okay, you're already getting it, right? Is that gay people aren't like us, you see. Gay children, they need this. I mean, while we all need, of course, our children need math and reading and science, the gay children need to be over there sitting in the corner looking at this stuff, which is, by the way, caricaturizing gay people, and that they are purely sexual beings.
There's nothing more demeaning and insulting than for someone to define me, to tell me who I am. I know who I am. I spent years getting to know who I am. When I was a kid in elementary school, I wasn't concerned with, show me a book that shows how I'm feeling a little different so that I can understand this through pornography. I was thinking about, how am I going to trick my mom to let me go see Star Wars again because I want to see it. Right. That was my childhood. And when you start showing kids this stuff, when you start providing it to them, you are stealing their childhood. You're stealing their youth. You're taking something so precious away from them. And any parent should be up in arms over this, because this is our future. These are our children. We should protect them above and beyond anything else. They're the most precious resource we have. And it is incumbent on us to give them absolute protection from anything that could harm them, physically, mentally, sexually, anything. And anyone who doesn't, shame on you. And it's on you if anything does happen to them.
That's well said. I mean, they're really robbing children of their innocence by doing two things: sexualizing them and racializing them. And this is something that's not new. It's been going on. I mean, it's a decidedly Marxist way of doing things. But what's truly sinister is that this movement and the progressives are doing it are really framing up gay men. You see, that's incredibly wrong. So what they're doing is saying, well, we're going to steal the innocence of children by showing gay porn here. That's what we're going to do. Why the hell are you going to do that? Why not show heterosexual porn? Now, to be fair, there are some books that do show some stuff, but not anywhere near as prolific as the ones that I've shown you, and not anywhere near as graphic. And so, again, it is framing gay men in particular this way. And I have to tell you, I have not heard, and I've been doing this for a while, I have not heard any gay person or any gay family certainly come out and say, we are in support of this. I have not heard it. It's always been generally straight, progressive women. I'm not hearing it on the other. I'm not, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, they think they know what's best for us. They think they know what's best for everybody. You know, it falls under the umbrella of, you can't handle this, so we're going to handle it for you. So it's okay. Just do what we tell you and everything's going to be fine. You know, we're long past that. Let me tell you, and this is a message for everyone out there. There are a lot more conservative gay families and people out there than what you realize. There really are. And the danger is for you to think that there's not, and that we can't think for ourselves, and that we can't come to decisions on our own about this. You know, we wanted a family. We have a biracial daughter. Raising her, it was years before she realized the differences between us. You know, Craig is Irish descent. You know, I'm Middle Eastern descent. So we've got different skin tones. You know, we're gay. We're fathers to her. She started seeing it later, would ask questions. And then she was very accepting. Her friends and her friends' families are very accepting. Why? Not because someone educated them to be that way, but because they got to know us. They knew us for who we are. It was no brainwashing. It was, hey, we are a normal family. We are a family, and we are a normal family for us. And as long as you treat us with respect, we treat you with respect. And that message was conveyed, and it was honored. And that's why she's had a fantastic childhood. We've made friends with all these amazing families. We're a little worried. We were surprised at the number of conservative families that welcomed us in open arms, with open arms. And it was really heartwarming. And it was refreshing, because all you think and you hear is that it's going to be the opposite. But I'm telling you, there's more of us out there than what you realize.
Well, yeah, I mean, again, look, the natural home for homophobia, racism, and anti-Semitism is on the left. It just is. I mean, you know how many times that I've heard from progressives that you're Jewish, you shouldn't be voting that way. You shouldn't be thinking that way. Well, that's called ignorance. Believe me, the first they, progressives, if they found out that you were gay and conservative, they would never talk to you. You're not actually gay. They're going to call you a homophobe. You already know that, right? I'm an anti-Semite. You've been called a homophobe? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I've been called a racist and a homophobe, and I just laugh. And the person that was with me said, you don't know him. Well, he is. It's like, no, you really don't. And we just kind of laughed it off and left it, because it is ignorance. It's because there is no other argument to be had other than to try to go for the thing that could wound somebody the most.
Right.
It's ridiculous.
And you have a biracial daughter, and you're a gay man, and you're still being called a racist. And yeah, that makes sense.
And a homophobe.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that makes perfect sense to me. Not,
Right.
yeah, but it is. I mean, this whole, intersectionality that they're doing in schools, and you get what that is, right? If you're straight, if you're Christian, if you're a male, if you're white, you are in this, I would call it bag of deplorables, for lack of another term, but you're in that, you're in that stigmatized group. And once you're there, you're dehumanized. You're not being treated as a full human. We know what being dehumanized really is, because we know and we see what happens with gays, actually in Russia, to be honest with you. And to be honest, Ukraine's not much better. but we've seen it in Russia, we've seen it in China, we've seen it in the Middle East. So we know, and we know this is a great country because, as you pointed out, we don't tolerate dehumanizing treatment of anyone based on what they are. Now we're heading that, and by the way, Jews as well. Try being Jewish and walk around in France at night. Just try it. Not exactly safe. So, you know, we talk about America being such a great country. We don't tolerate that. So you and I see the writing on the wall when we see, you know, in this state, we've got, get this, preschoolers 3 and 4 years old being taught to decenter their whiteness. When we see things like that, that's dehumanization of disabled preschoolers. Things like that harken back to, you know, pre-Nazi Germany or early days of Nazi Germany and things like that. And so I think that's what animates you and I both to kind of speak out about this stuff, because we know the way minorities are really treated around the world. And we see this kind of curriculum we're seeing in schools being the prelude to some of those things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, you know, it, again, to see what these children are being exposed to have them coaxed along, I guess, or what's the best way for me to put this? Don't try to tell somebody what they are. Let them come to it on their own. You know, these books, this that are in the library, get them out of there. Give the kids back their childhood. You know, there's so much going on in the world. They don't need to get to a point to where they see that violence, to see people hanging off, you know, gay men hanging off bridges, you know, in certain parts of the Middle East or parts of the world. You know, when they get older and they can learn the history, it's important to learn this history. Do not deny the history, no matter how bad it is. You've got to learn this history so we know what went on and how to avoid it. History is I don't go on a tangent here, but it is a step in the wrong direction, a big one. Because if you don't know it, you're going to repeat it, right? So again, I think it's so important that these children get an education that's useful to them, not based on what you think they should have. Teach them what they go to school for. Let the parents help nurture them. I know not every parent out there can be nurturing, but give us a chance. We can do it. We've all gotten here, right? Every single one of us have made it through our parents' nurturing or through neighborhoods or people that influenced us in our lives. But give these kids back their childhood. Quit taking it away from them, for God's sake. You know, enough's enough.
Well, I know. I mean, but again, when when you racialize children, it takes away their innocence. I'll tell you why it's being done. So when Mao knew that he was going to put together the student movement to become the Red Guards, of course, this is a technique that they use because a child's innocence works against revolution. And so what you do is you expose children to inappropriate things as early as you can, because the earlier that they're able to enlist in the revolution, the better. The more able they are to turn parents, they are more able they are to influence others. So, you know, when you're teaching in North Carolina schools, as they are, that even a 3 or 4 year old with cerebral palsy, autism, traumatic brain injury can be a racist, that's what you're doing in its most evil form. When you're teaching, you know, sexualizing children, they're choosing to do it via gay material. Maybe they feel like they would really be getting in a lot of trouble if they did it hetero, because they feel like they'll call you a homophobe if they're is that what you think I mean, is that why they're doing it? Because they're using the gay community to get kids into revolution.
Maybe they think that they're not going to catch as much heat. Maybe they think that the gay community is going to rise up and say, yeah, you know, it's fine. There are people in the gay community that I'm sure are gonna say, no, it's fine. But there's a lot of us too that are going to say, no, it's not. You know, this is hurting the gay community. You want to help the gay community? Don't do this stuff. Don't do this stuff. You want to help the gay community? Then socialize with us. You know, get to know us. That's the key. not getting kids indoctrinated at such a young age. They don't understand this stuff. All you're doing is exposing them to something they shouldn't be exposed to. And yes, I mean, look at what's going on around our country. Look at as you know, one thing that this shutdown showed us is so much that was coming into education. That's and I'm seeing that as a blessing that we got to see a lot of it, and a lot of it got exposed, because that's allowing us the opportunity to affect change. And you've done a fantastic job leading that charge, Sloan. You really have. And I don't know how you're doing it. I mean, it's really, you know, my hat's off to you, because it's a lot. It's a lot.
It, it is a lot, but you know, I mean, we have on our team, we have, a lot of people that can do this full time. And I know that
Mhm.
most parents, like, your family, especially your family, you're running a business, couple of businesses and working full time and doing all that. So, we try to do the research and do the policy work for parents and for people, all people, grandparents too, that have a shared destiny with our children and that want to know all this stuff. So I'm just, grateful to be able to do this and to be able to help. I mean, I'm a helper. That's what I like to do. And so, do I like to make
No,
trouble?
you're
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, I make trouble, but you got to get people's attention. These are our children. This is the future of our country we're talking about.
I don't know that you make trouble. I think you expose the truth, and for some people that's trouble. But you are a helper, and I can testify that, to that firsthand. You were a godsend to me and my family, and for anyone that might call you a homophobe or anything, they're out of their minds. They have no idea. They don't know Sloan. It's and that's why I sit back and I laugh when people become so ignorant that they revert back to just to name calling when they don't know, just because there's a difference in opinion, or because you've exposed something that truly is wrong.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
we've exposed a lot, and I conversations like this are so important because I don't like to see people getting framed up
Mhm.
when and being used, and that's really what I see a lot of our children being done. And I, approached you maybe a year ago about these surveys that are going out to middle schoolers and high schoolers, asking 3 or 4 different times, "Are you gay? Are you questioning? Are you trans? Are you this? Are you that?" I mean, the concern that I had was, what if you were, as a teenager, the possibility of being outed? I mean, my son 13 loses it if he has to wear gray socks instead of white,
Mhm.
and he's afraid of being made fun of. I mean, when you are dealing with these sort of, personal things, and then you're being asked about it, I mean, you know what I mean? Because you know how paranoid teens are. If they get a survey about, are you gay or trans, they're going to think, oh shit, do they know about me? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Or what are people thinking about me?
yeah, it's dangerous.
It is. Being gay is not an easy thing. No one chooses it. I can tell you that. There might be some people out there that disagree, but I can tell you, I did not wake up one day and say, let me be gay. I didn't choose this. So if I were a kid and I were to have received that, I would have been flipping out, scared to death. What does someone know about me? What have I done? And let's flip that for a second to a straight child. God bless them, because they start worrying, what have I done? What are people thinking about me? Those are things that are going through their thoughts. Are you thinking about the psychological damage that it could do to straight children as well as gay children? This is not just a one type of child problem. This affects a lot. And at such an impressionable age, you're talking about impacting, potential thoughts of suicide here with
Yes.
these children.
Oh yeah.
You know,
Oh
it's
yeah.
just, it's unspeakable.
Well, there's a lot of predators out there who are trying to um, groom children into being transgender. And when you do something like that, again, I have an extreme opinion. I believe that transgenderism, it's trying to erase gay people and it's trying to erase women. Why do I say that? Because you're telling, let's just take, for instance, a gay boy or man. You're saying that it's not okay to be your biological sex and gay, that you have to change your gender. And then when you do so, it erases the rights of women.
Mhm.
So it's a killer, right? That you're not allowed to be either a gay man or a woman. You have to have, something in between. And that's just been my position
Yeah.
on it.
Yeah, I don't know. I'll say something that maybe some people are gonna be like, how does he not get it? I don't understand. I mean, I know what transgender is. I know people, who feel like they say, I feel like,
This is
man
the
in a woman's
movement.
body, woman
This
and
is
man in
the
a body.
this
Yeah.
is the political movement. Not, I mean, we know trans people that,
Mhm.
you know what? I mean, look, God love them and they do it and they're an adult or what, I mean, look, I get it. All right. I get it. But it's the movement to groom where a kid picks up a truck and 3 days in a row and she's a 10-year-old girl and all of a sudden is that sort of movement.
That's ridiculous because and not what you said, but to use that example, a girl picks up a truck and all of a sudden, oh, she needs to be a boy.
Yeah.
No, she could just be a girl that likes playing with trucks. There could be boys that like to play with dolls. It that doesn't make them candidates to be transgender. Here's the thing about transgender people that I know for certain. And to finish my last thought, I might not understand that the transgender process, but I respect them just as I do anyone. And because that's what they're going through. That's their life. I have no influence on them. Treat them with respect. They treat me with respect. I say they in like in a plural sense of anybody, not specifically that. But when it comes to a child, you know, if they're going to grow up one day to be transgender, they're going to have the guts enough to do it on their own. It takes a lot of guts to do that. It takes a lot of fortitude, a lot of determination, a lot of self-reflection. You know, give them the opportunity to work through that on their own.
But the government, here it is. Here, let me break it down for you. Government officials are grooming children to be transgender. And you have to ask yourself why. These aren't teachers or counselors, or it's government grooming program to encourage children to change their biological sex. That's what it is.
Yeah, and that's a sin. That shouldn't be happening. That's not what the government is there for. That's not what they're there to do.
You know what they
That's
are here to do? They're here to teach. They're here to teach. And the report that just came out yesterday from the DPI is, holy shit, closing the schools, wait for it, cause learning loss. And
snorted on that one. Sorry.
yeah, it was probably my delivery, but
No.
I told you I was wearing my best Alexis Carrington outfit. It's not because you're gay and you would be judgy of my clothes. It's just, I just did. It was a new shirt so my delivery had to be dramatic to match Dynasty. That's
Hey, you're lucky you got me. I'm the guy with no taste. That's why I'm wearing pretty much black with
Craig
right.
would have given, it was in case Craig was going to be on. He would have.
Yeah. We'll have him give you a review later.
He would know. Yeah, he would wait, but he would know. But yeah, I mean, so learning loss caused from the shutdown is really, really severe. And so the one thing, Danny, that schools are charged to do, that's what they're set up to do, is to teach children. That ain't happening. But what you do have happening is all this critical race theory, this called social emotional learning, where they're talking about their feelings all day or what have you, or the stuff we've been talking about. But the standard, I mean, not only the standard, I mean, everything's plummeted. So they're talking about reducing the standards to meet the lowering of the floor. And so, you know what I mean? I mean, and again, I don't care who you are or what kind of parent you are. I mean, what you want for your child is to achieve the American dream, and to hopefully, if they can do it, is to get up even higher than you did. I know that's what I want for my kids. And, unless and until, look, if parents don't have the money to pay for extra tutoring or the time to spend teaching children, their taxes their tax money is being lit on fire because schools aren't doing what they're supposed to be doing. Do you know what I mean? And so
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
the 73 children that percent of all children now who are in public schools and who have no other way out. I mean, this is a horrible injustice that's being perpetrated against them by our own government and with our own money.
Yeah. You know, you said something here that just I want to touch on about, parents, not having enough money for tutoring and all that. And when we came back to the States, we didn't have anything. We lost literally everything. We had $1,000 literally and one suitcase full of clothes. That was it between five of us. That's all we came back with in our lives, thankfully. My parents worked two jobs, both of them, all day, every day. And we kind of had, and they did their best raising us. I think we did pretty good. They taught us, to to work, to have pride in our work, pride in ourselves, to, if we want something, we can achieve it. We lived in a 2-bedroom trailer when we first came back. And we got to a point to where our parents, raised us saying, you can do whatever you want in this country. You can be whatever you want. You've got to work at it. It's never going to be given to you. And that's what we did, all of us. And each of us have phenomenal careers now because we worked for it and we worked hard for it. That's what we should be teaching our kids. That's what we should be teaching them is you can do anything. You could be anything. I don't care what anyone tells you. There are people out there with prejudices. They're going to be there for forever. We are not going to get rid of them. And if our focus is trying to get rid of people with prejudices, we're doing our kids a disservice. What we need to do for our kids is raise them, letting them know they can do anything, they can be anything. We can raise them, reassure them, love them, guide them, and let them know that that in order to be successful, they've got to work hard. Not sit here and go, oh, you're playing with a doll, you should be a girl. Oh, you're playing with a truck, you should be a boy. That has no impact on how a child is going to be able to provide for themselves when they become an adult. People talk about gay pride. For me, gay pride is accepting myself. It's my family. It's loving them, loving myself for who I am, loving my neighborhood. Our neighbors are phenomenal. We're the only gay family in this entire neighborhood. We're treated amazingly well. That to me is gay pride, not, a parade. Parades can be fun, but that's not necessarily where it comes from. I get the whole, let's get all together and be community, but we've got to realign how we think and start focusing on our children again and what will truly benefit them, not what we want them to be, but what they have the potential to be. That's the important part. And that's what we've lost.
So I'm going to close out the interview by asking you this. You may have heard that we started a political PAC where we're going to be drafting some really great conservative candidates to run for office. And so I have to ask you this. Have you ever thought about running, Danny?
I don't run on a treadmill, so.
For a man that owns now Chew Gyms, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we're the second location we're working on right now. But no, I've thought about it, but it's really not for me. I love my community. I love my country, but there's so many other ways that I can help serve, and that's just not it. That's just not for me.
I just heard that I have to keep working on you.
God help me.
That's the answer that I heard. Well, I'm just saying, I know that after this interview airs that I'm going to be hearing about, how common sense you are. And it's great to talk to parents. We interview parents frequently on the show. Usually it's us commentators, but when we do, and we hear somebody as common sense as you, the first thing we think is, wow, we need more parents in office. We need more clear-headed, rock-ribbed conservatives in office. And so you always come to mind, but I had to ask. So thank you for joining us tonight. And guys, we're going to be on Monday night with me and Michelle talking about the disastrous results from this DPI study on the learning loss has happened since 2020. And yeah, the Democrats try to tell us no such thing as learning loss, Danny, but Turns out, if there's anything that they can, run into the ground, even if with kids, they'll do it.
God knows, they've been good at running a lot of things into the ground the last couple of years. So,
Yes,
yep.
cities, country. Yeah, yep. All
Other
right. Well,
countries.
yeah, other countries, our country. I mean, yeah, don't let them get their hands on your kids, guys. Seriously. All right. Thank you. Have a great night, guys.